Hello, hello, hello. My guest should be coming back on. We had technical difficulties once again, but never letting us down. So, how is everybody doing today? Let me invite some people. Technical difficulties once again, but never letting us down. Okay, let's see. She's gotten the message. Okay. Okay. Send it to her again. And let me try this again. Uh, yeah, you're always doing right. When you're doing right, the devil always tries. And I don't know why he keep trying me, because he never wins. He ain't learned that I don't never give up. Okay, let's try this one more time. Because we got a good guest coming today. And I am so ready for this conversation. Okay, let's see what's gonna happen now. Oh, there she go. Hey, girl.
I was sitting here mad. I was like, I don't know what is going on.
Well, let's get started now that we're back on here. I sound like I got an echo. You hear echo?
No.
Okay. All right. So tonight, I want to introduce you and welcome you all to Just Be You Incorporated, Our Hidden Scars. We have the guest speaker, Zina Boyd, tonight. And let me tell you a little bit about Zina. So Zina is a dedicated public health professional and consultant with over 20 years of experience in HIV/AIDS prevention care and community engagement. She currently serves as a case manager with VCU Health and has worked extensively with the Virginia Department of Health and Richmond City Health Department as a disease intervention specialist, helping to reduce the spread of HIV and STIs. Zena has also served in multiple roles with Nations Foundation, including HIV test counseling, prevention counseling, trainer, and data coordinator, primarily supporting the LGBTQIA plus community. With over 15 years of experience in HIV/AIDS case management, she is passionate about serving underserved populations, including those experiencing homelessness. She holds certifications in life coaching, HIV testing, motivation interviewing, HIV prevention, and many more. Zena is also a proud board member of Just Be You Incorporated, where she continues her commitment to advocate, educate, and empower. In her spare time, as if she has some, she enjoys spending time with her grandchildren children and playing bingo. I will now give it over to Zena to tell us her fascinating testimony.
So good evening, everybody. And I guess my burn story starts the way I started it on Facebook. So on February 24th this year, something hit me in my spirit, and I was like, I know today is something. I'm like, today. And I thought about it. I was like, it was 6 weeks after I was born. So, to me, 6 weeks after I was born, something happened. I was in a car accident when I was 6 weeks old. The way the story went and was told to me, my mom was going to see some friends. Um, she asked someone to take her to Newport News, Norfolk area. And she asked this this gentleman, if you get tired, let me know. I can drive. You can sit back here with my baby. He fell asleep at the wheel. The truck hit the guardrail, and the truck exploded. Back in those days, babies used to be wrapped with thermal blankets. And one of the biggest reasons why they changed blankets was because a lot of babies back in the 70s died because of house fires, car accidents, whatever it may be. But blankets were like a big cause of injuries to infants. So when the truck exploded, my mom was able to get out. Um, as she walked down the highway, people didn't stop. Um, Cars were swerving, as she said. And she said a couple had stopped. And she said that she told a couple that her baby was in the truck. So the man went to the truck. He tried to grab me once. He grabbed my left arm, lost his grip, and he went back in as that truck burned and he pulled me out. So, fast forward to about 3 years old, I didn't know that I was burned on like 99% of my body, pretty much, except my face. I lost two fingers. I was burned on the left side of my head to the bone. Um, I had extensive injuries for an infant at that time. So I remember learning early because of my burns differences. At 3, I'll never forget, I ran in the house, told my grandma the kids was picking on me. And I was like, I don't know why they picking with me. I was like, they're different, not me. Nothing's wrong with me. I'm like, nothing's wrong with me. And so my grandma sat there, Love Jones, and she said, Z Booty, let me tell you something. So Z Booty is my nickname, and it came from when I had my accident. I was wrapped from head to toe, and the only thing that was unwrapped, according to my grandma, was my booty. And she said it was poking up in the air. And she said by the time she made it up the highway and she looked in that room, the sun was shining on my booty. And she said she called me Z Booty. And that has been my nickname. Don't laugh, Yolanda. If you call me Z Booty, we're going to have a problem. So, early on, I had to learn that everyone doesn't have three fingers. Everyone doesn't have burns on their arms. Everybody wasn't like me. So early, I learned differences, but I also resented those differences sometimes because I'm like, you judging off of something you learn early. You get judged off of things that aren't in your, nothing is in, nothing I can do about it. Like I can't change that I was burned. And I think early on, I've always been angry. Like anybody who knows me, I'm a scrapper, I'm a fighter, because I've always had to fight because that was the joke coming up. So, as I grew up, it was a fighting point. I think now, and I think of my mother who was burned with me. She used to always tell me, you can't always be angry about your burns. You can't always fight everybody, and it became a point when, I could cry about it, but why fight about it? Why fight about it? And for years, I think from 3 to like 7 or 8, I was a scrapper. It was if you said something about my hand, I had to fight because I didn't know how else to deal with being different than everyone else. It didn't help that sometimes adults were the worst culprit when it came to my burns. Oh my God, Yolanda, even from teachers, like in elementary school, I would come back from having a surgery. I'll take my cast off. I actually had a teacher tell me, put your arm just. So, it really hasn't been, it's easy now.
Your
I'm
screen
almost,
went black, Zena.
huh?
Your screen is black.
Your screen is black. I see me. I don't see you. Now it's just me. She'll come back, y'all. Um, so okay, I'm here. I'm going to continue the story. Um, so growing up, it was a fight. It was always a fight, and I had to learn as years went. You can't always fight someone um, about it. You have to learn how to deal with it. Um, it wasn't easy as a kid. Um, and as I was, there you go. All right. As I was saying, it wasn't easy as a kid. It's one thing to take stuff from your peers, but
You're
as
still showing I'm black on this side and on Facebook.
I'm short.
No, it's showing a black screen now. That's the table. I see fingers. There we go.
All right, you see me?
Yep.
All right, okay. We're not gonna stop this story no more. We gonna keep it going, y'all. We promise. We having technical difficulties. Now I can't hear you. You muted.
Yes, I muted. I said that's okay. The story's gonna be told
I know
either
that.
way.
Either way. So, it's one thing when you're taking stuff from, peers, but I had issues with teachers as well. Had one teacher tell me my arm disgusts her, and as a kid, how do you take that? So, as I said, I was a fighter. So at lunchtime, I threw up on her plate and I told her, did that disgust her? As a kid, that's how I knew to fight back. I was an angry little kid. I think that's the best way I can describe how it felt being burned and no one else around you shared that type of experience, whether it was the same from an accident or a house fire. Um, I don't think I saw my first. I don't think I saw the first burn person in my circle until I got to middle school, and someone's house caught on fire and she was burned. But she was burned, but before she was burned, she wasn't my friend. She talked about me. I was the three finger spatter. I was the, eight finger this, that, and the third. So it's like, I wanted to embrace her because I knew how it felt to be someone who had, burn marks. So um I think as I got older, I held on to the one thing my mom always said. She was like, people will never notice your burns. She was like, people will never notice your burns. She said, Zina, you got so much personality. She said, by the time somebody do notice your burns, she was like, it's gonna be some time. And I don't think I realized that until I see it now. People I've known for years. And they like, girl, what happened to you? I was like, girl, I was in a car accident. I forget myself. I forget myself sometimes. It's nothing that I can't do, but a pull up. I can't do a pull up. That's it. That's it. I could do everything else, but a pull up. I think I'm doing good, even when they didn't give me that opportunity. I remember my mom said that I would be handicapped. I wouldn't be able to do what the other kids did. It would be hard for me to grow up, and I don't think any of that is true. I think I over exceeded the limits of what they thought would be who I would become. I can't write with my left hand, but I don't need to write. I'm prominent with my right, but it's like, it's nothing that I can't do. And I think a lot of that came from seeing other people's do without any issue. We talk about privilege in the world and we only talk about one privilege, but it's a lot of different privileges in the world. And I tell people all the time, some people have finger privilege and people laugh. And I'm like, no, some of you all have finger privilege. That's something that I don't have. You know, it's funny now to think about it, but think about when we're in our classes, Yolanda, and we're playing exercises. And one of the exercises, you have to do something with two thumbs. Well, I don't have two thumbs. So I sit in the exercise class, and sometimes I have to deflect, because people aren't aware of that privilege sometimes. Even in the work that we do, I have a privilege in my position. I don't live with, I work on behalf of, so I sit in front of people every day with the privilege. So when it comes to my burns and my fingers, I try to remind people, hey, we have to be mindful of our privileges, because it's a privilege I don't have that privilege. I don't like your little thumb games. I don't like the thumb games. But no, I think for me, and I'm not very religious, but all my life people always say, "Oh, you a child, you a miracle. Oh, oh my God, I can't believe you." And I don't think until recently, Yolanda, that I realized how true that is, and
Hmm.
how what I do on this earth, it's a direct tie to why God saved me and kept me here. Like some people who are burned, they work on behalf of burned people. I never once wanted to work on a burn ward, or do anything like that. That just didn't move me. And it's like someone so long ago showed me compassion. Someone long ago showed me empathy. So if I can do anything in my life, and I'm only 50, almost 50, I think I've done a great job giving back that empathy and that compassion.
Right.
Be- because we know people in our field, they don't have compassion. And we know that compassion saves lives. Empathy saves lives.
Hmm.
So, leading up to this conversation and to say any of what I said and anything I'm going to say further, it was like I had to say that out loud, because I've never acknowledged that out loud. It's like, yeah, I am somewhat of a miracle. Yeah, I am. But I'm a miracle because he left me here to do something that in 2026 is needed. Be kind should be everybody's catchphrase, because even though my scars are, you can see my scars. We deal with people that you can't see their scars.
Hmm. Hmm.
So if they put on a smile, you're not going to see a burned hand. You're going to see 10 fingers. You're going to see 10 toes. You're going to see the perfect picture of nothing wrong. So it's very important for me to let that be acknowledged. I understand now why I'm here.
Okay. So you got a few comments. Nikki says, "So true. Your personality is so outgoing and positive." She says, "You have excelled more in life than so many people who don't even try." Sherry says, "Zena, you overcame your scars. You're so helpful. I'm in tears. Pound, be kind. I love you both. Lord, yes."
Yeah, it is so true. I think when my mama died, I think like it almost 11 years ago, some woman that worked with her, she had left these messages with my mom's boss. Three messages for all three of her daughters. And my message was, stop being angry. And
Mm,
so for a few years, it took me a while to try to get to understanding why she was saying don't be angry. And Yolanda, I'm gonna blow your mind when I say this, because I think my mother felt like it was her fault
mm,
that this had happened. And I wish I would have had the opportunity to tell her, as she used to always say, parenting don't come with books. We make decisions in our lives as parents where sometimes we don't reflect on how our decision is going to affect our kids in the future. We don't think like that. And I can acknowledge that because I'm a mother, so when I got that message, I was like, I bet you she think I'm angry at her, but never. Because how could she have predicted this was going to happen? If anything, if she wanted to, she could have left me in the King's and Queen's Daughter Hospital up the road if she wanted to, but she didn't.
But she didn't.
But she didn't, and
I'm
she
so
put up
glad
with a.
she didn't.
And I know that's right. She put up with a whole bunch of stank from me, but it's like I never blamed her for that. So it's like when she said that, I was like, I'm not angry. And then I said to myself, I'm also not angry about a few other things as far as it concerns my burns. I met my dad at 12. Well, for a few years, I thought he didn't like me because I was burned. And that wasn't necessarily the truth.
Mm,
So, it's like, okay, that wasn't the situation. It was what it was. But, when we have kids like myself who have to grow up with such visible scars, I think we need to instill in our kids that those scars don't make or break them. I would try to do a pull up, but I don't need to really do pull ups at 50. So I'm like, that's okay. It's okay. But I'm able to go out. I'm able to serve. I'm able to get what I need to get to the people. And that's all that really matters. That's all that really matters. Because even though I don't find people in fires, I still save them from something.
yeah.
So, it's like now I see. I tell people all the time. They was like, Zina, you want me to sing so bad, and I tell people years ago I sung at a friend of mine's husband's funeral, and I lie to you not. God told me to be quiet, and I haven't sang really since. Because sometimes I believe that God gives us certain gifts that are just they're just that they're gifts. They're not God-given gifts. They're just gifts. Those are like me singing is like okay, but the gift of compassion, the gift of empathy, that's the gift. What you laughing at? Because that's the
I'm
gift.
not laughing. I'm just, this is,
You
the
vibing in.
comments are saying that it's very powerful message, and I'm just absorbing the
Yeah,
message.
I'm like, that is just so true for me, Yolanda. Like, that's my gift. If I don't ever open my mouth again and sing another song, tomorrow when I go to work, guess how much, guess what I'm moving tomorrow? I'm moving life tomorrow, all day long, all day long. I'm going to get them to clear them pockets, clear them pockets. I need 30 days. I'm asking for life tomorrow. So if I don't ever sing, what I'm going to do tomorrow, that's that gift. That's that gift, and in 2026, if we don't start realizing what those gifts are, that's how we get over everything we're going through now, is figure out what those little gifts are that we got and give it. So compassion and empathy is what has been given to me. So I just so happened to be able to work with some of, I love the population I serve. I love the people I work with. It's like we do it.
Mm-hmm.
We do it.
Connell says your work is singing a song for you.
Thank you, Carnea. I appreciate that.
A lot of people are saying, "Wow, powerful message from the messenger." Um, Nikki says it gave me chills. I needed this today. I know God says, "Job well done" every day when you leave work.
Yeah, I try. The one reason why I've always been scared to like share my testimony is because we live in a world now where people try to capitalize off of their disability, their, I don't have a disability, I have a disformity according to the Social Security Disability Administration. I can't get a check for what's going on with me, but it's like people are willing to make themselves a joke for $1, and it's like I didn't want to share because I've already been the joke. It's nothing funny about being burned. The surgeries, it's like this isn't funny. So I never wanted to share and people take my story and think it's something to laugh at, because it isn't. However, the old me ain't going nowhere. We can go 10 rounds if that's how you feel.
Right, right. Well, I'm glad that you chose Just Be Used Our Hidden Scars to share, because we don't find it as a joke. It's all about empowerment. All
Yeah.
about empowerment. You got people on here saying, "I needed this today."
Well, I tell you, I appreciate it because it's sometimes I tell people, it's sometimes I forget that this has happened to me. And there has been times where I can go months and not really realize that this has happened, and I could be doing something just as small as going in the kitchen and I look down and I'm like, dang, I forgot all about that. Like, I forgot all about that because it's always been here, but I do feel now in at my age, I do feel that my story could help someone else, because I know plenty of people who were burned and they didn't fare well with their scars.
Someone said they came a little late. They want you to repeat how old you were when it happened to you.
I was 6 weeks old. I was in a car accident. The thermal blankets had stuck to my skin on the left side. The truck hit a guardrail. My mom was able to get out. Someone came and they got me out of the truck afterwards. So all of my burns happened on my left side. Um, on my left side of my head, I was burned to the bone. Um, I recall my mom saying a few times, because we all have that soft spot right there. So imagine I didn't have any hair on my left side and it was just exposed. Um, it was I believe his name is Mr. John, used to work at MCV in the burn unit. And I recall my mom saying when she brought me home, my head just wouldn't heal. And she went down to MCV and Mr. John gave her some cream because he was burned. And she said she put that on my soft spot and on my bald spot in the whole area. And she said my head began to heal. And I've met Mr. John had passed now, but I do recall meeting him while I worked down there on the medical campus. I know Mr. John, but it's things like that, even as a baby, somebody who was making impact in other burn victims' lives, gave my mama a secret cream. I used to always laugh. I was like, he gave you that secret cream. I was like, the hospital couldn't even give you no cream. I said, he had to give you that secret cream. And it was something that he put together, but it helped his burns. So that was how she was able to heal my head.
Wow. God be the glory. Hallelujah. Amen. Yeah. Um, I work with you on many things, and I forget that you ain't got but 8 fingers, because you be lifting things, you be moving things, you be typing. Like, sit down somewhere.
Yeah, but because growing up, when I started working at McDonald's, I never forget, they would never let me get off the register. And so, I was like, I want to go back there. I want to cook some hamburgers. I want to make some Big Macs. I mean, I was excited to learn. And that's why I work like that now. That's why I do everything now. Because back then I wanted to do everything. And the lady told me, she was like, you burn. She was like, we can't have you back there. And I had to tell her, lady, I was in a car accident. I'm like, these burns ain't got nothing to do with no Al Green business. You thinking something crazy. Let me get back there. So all my life I've had to like overcompensate work wise in some environments because you're not gonna put me around a bunch of even at 3, I've already told you it was a problem. Like y'all the problem, not me. And so I was introduced into a world where I worked way faster than the people who were assigned in the back. They figured out that I can work the front, I can work the back, I can do fries, and I can flip it to the drive-through. So then I get the most hours because when people are calling out, I can come in because I know how to do everything. But I also had to show her I can work. Like, that was told to me early on that nothing was wrong with me. And no shade. In our day, if you got a check, you didn't have to work. That was the standard. I didn't get a check, so when I turned 16, I worked, so it's like they even tried to hinder me in work. It's like, you already burned. We don't want to. And I'm like, bruh, give me that spatula. I make
Mhm.
the baddest Big Mac ever. Like, I got this, so it's like, even in work, and not now, I don't feel like that now in work, but my work ethic
Mhm.
comes directly from my early jobs working in fast food and things of that nature. And also my personality. When I'm around people serving them food and this, that, and the third, I don't want you to see that first because I don't know what your reaction's going to be. So I'm going to give you personality because personality isn't going to get you to look at my hand, but you may leave me a tip at the end of your dinner.
Connell says, "Wow, my daughter was burned in a car accident as an infant. She asked about her scars now."
Yeah. And it's funny. My baby girl, Jamea, is 24. She's a teacher now. And I never forget, she's the only kid that I have. And she laughed at me when I told her what happened. And I said, Jamea, that's not funny. And I'll never forget Jamea burned her foot. And after Jamea burned her foot, she said, Mom, I'm never gonna laugh at you no more. She was like, because my burns hurt. I said, yeah. I said, I don't know why you thought it was funny. I said, but burns are not, you know, they're not no fun. And I think it's proper for kids to understand what happened to them. So when people get to asking, they know what to say. Because I was always putting out fires of people telling my story the way that they wanted to tell my story. Like in middle school, I would never forget that someone told somebody that my mama beat me with some chicken grease and a frying pan. Yeah, girl. It was the churn, the churn. And I just had to be like, no, that's not what happened to me. So again, when you don't ask, and like I said, sometimes adults can be the worst. You know, um, I think that's the only thing someone can say about me, and it's like that doesn't hurt me. That's a flaw you can see, you know. But what about the flaws I can't see on you that you're not even working on? So it's like I've always been witty with my comeback, because it's like, hey, you sitting here really concerned about my burns. You got a whole lot of bigger issues to bring. So I learned early on. One, I went to Richmond Public Schools, and them kids did the dirty dozens like it was no joke. Richmond Public Schools and me did not fare well, and the big difference was I went to Chesterfield schools coming up. So when I would come to school, the teachers would literally have me in the class. They would introduce me. They would tell the students what happened to me. They would tell them that it was not funny. That wasn't something we were going to joke about. School was lovely. I got to Richmond Public Schools. Those kids didn't care. They they were different, and they were, oh my God, they tormented me. So I had to fight back, and that's why I continue to say I was a fighter. I was a fighter. But I learned now that I could have handled it better. But when you're not given those tools, You do as they do in Rome. You do as they do in Rome.
Wow. That's all I can say is wow. Um, this has been so empowering for me. From reading the comments, it's been empowering for them. Even without technical issues, the story still did what it needed to do. You're getting plenty of hearts on Facebook right now, so you have to go back and check that out. And yeah, anything else you want to say? Any other comments anybody has before Zena closes it out? I see a bunch of hearts and likes and emojis of all kinds coming up. And Nikki is just in awe. Amen, she says. So I guess if you don't have anything else um, you want to share, you can close it out in the way that you would like to close it out.
So Yolanda asked me for a verse, a Bible verse. What was my favorite Bible verse? And so I gave her Isaiah 41, verse 10. So I told her, I said, I want to end it out, but I want to read verses 10 through 13 because after saying everything that I've said, this just hit my 10 hit my heart before, but 10 and 13 just really, you know, a few things for me. So Isaiah 41:10 reads, So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. All who rage against you will surely be ashamed and disgraced. Those who oppose you will be as nothing and perish. Though you search for your enemies, you will not find them. Those who wage war against you will be as nothing at all. For I am the Lord your God, who takes your hold of your right hand and says to you, Do not fear, I will help you. And if you're familiar with that, that's when he's talking to Jacob and he's telling Jacob, you are my servant. So just to put that in context, the beginning of this is what hit me at the beginning, but at the end, I don't go to church every day. I rarely open up this Bible, but I am his servant every day. Every day I get up, I serve him. And for that, I I say amen.
Before we go, we got two comments. Thank you for being so brave to share your story. They really enjoyed it. And we're going to question what would what would you tell someone struggling with overcoming their scars, seen and unseen?
It takes a lot. I think for me, my unseen scars at my age, I just heal them one day at a time. I learned through the death of a lot of people in my life that sometimes the closure you need to heal a scar may never come, but you still need to heal anyway. Um, the visible scars, I'm gonna tell y'all something. I love me some me. I love me some me. When I walk in the room, you can't tell I got nail scar. Hold your head up high and you walk in the room and you own whatever room you walk in. If they want to notice your visible scar, that's fine. That's fine. You may want to do what I do, flash it on them. But never ever let someone make you feel less than because of your scars. I stopped doing that long ago. I stopped doing that long ago. And I say to all the 10 finger people watching, you ain't never gonna meet another 8 finger bad one like me. Never. Never. It's a whole lot of 10 finger yous, but it ain't a whole lot of 8 finger me's. That's what I say.
Amen. Amen.
I
And
told
on that note,
I told one of the case managers today before we leave. She said something to me, and I said, "Girl, I said, who got the best 8 fingers in Ryan White?" I said, "Don't play with me." I said, "Do not play."
Oh, girl, you got me over here. Got tears coming. Whew, I love it. Thank you so much for allowing Just Be You to be the first story told.
No,
Um,
thank you for the opportunity. I never thought sharing that on Facebook would even. I won't even thinking. I won't even thinking the connection. And then when you asked, I was like, why am I holding it? Like, why am I holding it? It's a whole lot of things. I have a book that I need to finish. I just need to get some things together. But it's like I have a story to be told. And I'm not ashamed that God kept me. I used to be ashamed because I'm like, what is the connection? Like, why did you keep me here? To have 3 kids, 3 baby, what did you keep me here for this? But the glory is in the work. The glory is in the work. And I'm thankful today that He kept me. I'm
well,
thankful.
yes, 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 yes. So I just want to say that um, testimonies are not for us, but for others.
Yes.
We go through these things to share. And that's why this program, Our Hidden Scars, is God given. This is not a Yolanda thought. I never would think. I don't like going live, even with the issues I push through. This is God's work, and I give it all to Him. You telling your story today for the first time was the right time, and He is so proud of what happened today. So many people are so excited about what's going on. The comments and the hearts and things are still coming through. Your scars are someone else's breakthrough. So thank you once again. I look forward to the work we do
That's right.
out through Just Be You and outside of Just Be You. Thank you, sister.
No,
Eight
thank
fingers in all.
you. You believe it, baby. I
Have a
love
good evening. Love you.
you. Have a good evening. Thank y'all for watching.